This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
My name is Kiani Mills, and this podcast is created to help you see, feel, and experience the human side of business. I'm a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a parent. And like many who have travelled this path before me, I've been through the lows of the lows and the gut-wrenching pain. But I've been through the triumphs and the wins and the indescribable highs, all of which I consider to be my lessons in the school of life. On this show, we are going to start some conversations to ignite new world ideas into some very old age businesses. So if you're a leader, a business mind, or an entrepreneur, get ready to think, act, and feel differently so that we can all reach a new level of business success together. So, what are you waiting for? Welcome back to this week's episode of She Can Humanize Business, where I like to bring in guests who can not only highlight the humanization of business, but those who are practically and personally implementing humanizing into their own businesses and their own lives. So this week, my guest, the incredible Hareta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. I'm super excited. We had a little powwow before this and I went, oh, I'm so excited to listen to everything in the amazingness that you have to share and really delve into this. Is an area I haven't had anyone on in HR before. So I'm really excited because people are the core of our businesses. So before we jump into it, and I'm going to restrain my excitement and ask you the question of what does humanizing business mean to you?
I love that I'm your first HR representative. I feel deeply honored. And I want to answer your question with a little bit of a story. So when I first landed my very first HR coordinator role at the beginning of my career, I was out for drinks and this guy asked me what I did for work. And I said, I'm just got a job as an HR coordinator. And he said, HR sucks. And not going to lie, that was a little heartbreaking for, a young 20-something who's stoked to have got this job. And I was a little taken aback for a while. But what it did do is start me thinking about why. And it's the little seed that germed and kept on growing throughout my entire career and has essentially become part of the cornerstone of my philosophy towards HR. So from there, I started to work out why this guy had the audacity to say that HR sucked, because I was like, that means, do I suck? Like representing this industry? Started work, soon realized that the world of HR that I was in, human resources, was less human than I had anticipated. And then and now there's a general perception that HR is rule-loving, fun-averse, police that people get to send to when someone is in trouble or when something needs
the naughty corner of a business.
It's the naughty corner of a business and everyone's in grey pantsuits and no one's funny and there's dry conversations and it's all very boring and played. So I fully rejected that notion because it just wasn't me. And so over the years, I sought out individual HR practitioners and companies that held similar values. And my team and I, over the years, through different businesses, created research-backed employee experiences, building in neuroscience and human psychology and human-centered design so that we could, getting back to your question, humanize business and do good business through being a good human. And it was through that whole experience where I learned you can do both. And that to me is humanizing business. It's about taking the commerciality of a business and backing that with human-centered design.
Oh my gosh, I'm sitting here like dancing in my seat and loving every single word, because that sentence that you said, and I preach this in every presentation that I give and everything that I verbal diarrhea out, is that you can do both. And where did we get so freaking lost that we forgot that we're humans and not robots?
It's such a good point. And in the work that I do with my clients and in the conversations that I have in the industry, there's a real commercial focus, which I totally get, because
we're all running businesses. I get it.
Totally. You have to have that commercial hat on. And most people go into business because they're really good at something, or they want to make a difference, or both. Or if you're in a larger business, most people get promoted because they're really good at what they do. But there's a gap with how we then bring in managing of these humans. And that is a missed opportunity by so many, because the general gist that I get from most people is that it's a chore. Managing people is so time consuming and draining, and it's like with anything, where your energy goes, focus flows. And so if you're approaching your people with that energy and that mindset, yes, it's going to be challenging. But if you educate yourself and you find the tools and the techniques and you equip yourself with the knowledge, it gets to be flowy and it gets to be fun and fulfilling and a huge profitable piece of your business.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And there's kind of two things that have come through with that. And this is why I have so much appreciation for like school teachers and kindergarten teachers and nurses and palliative care, because all they're doing is looking after people, because it can be exhausting. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And then in our businesses, when we have staff, and I know that I was one of those staff members that did a certain job, worked my way up, got to a certain point, ran at that capacity, mindset, skill set, everything was aligned, because that was where I was currently, that was my current reality of where I was at. Then the promotion comes and it's like, well, hey, you can kill it here, then we're gonna up that. And you're like, yes, this is what I'm going for. This is so exciting. And that next level comes with added skill set, added demands, added learning, added growth, which is fine. And that's what they can teach you. And that's what they do teach you. They give you training. The part for me that I feel is always missing is that, how do you elevate your mindset to be able to deal with the added learning, the added pressure, the added stress, especially if you are dealing with clients? Because generally it goes from, hey, you can have the lower level clients when you're a junior. And then when you get to that executive level, you get the big clients, you get the big ticket clients, that there's pressure to keep these guys happy, right? So therefore our mindset needs to, and our mindfulness needs to elevate with our skills that are increasing. And so for me, that's where I see a lot of the gaps, because we're great at managing situations, but not so great at managing people up as they move through the ranks. Would you agree?
100%. And that is part of the definition between management and leadership. And when you can tap into the world of leadership, that is when you can tap into that mindset. It's when you understand how we humans operate. And that's why I'm such a big fan of bringing in elements of neuroscience and human psychology into what we do, because you've got to speak the same language. And for you to be able to really manage one of the largest costs to your business, which is people. And when I say that, I mean, payroll, basically. Does it not make perfect sense to want to understand that cost as best you can? And whilst that's a very, numbers way to look at it, if you flip that back around to humanization, you've really got to understand what makes people tick. And to get them to do, or to inspire them, I should say, to do what you need from a business perspective, you need to give them a reason to want to be there and to want to strive and do better and create opportunity and to really leverage that mindset.
I love that so much. And I love what you touched on with the leadership and management as well, because that part there for me is I feel has always been a two-part approach, but what's your take on the notion that good leaders should be good managers and good managers should be good leaders?
My take is that you 100% need both to be effective. Every leader can be a manager, but not every manager can be a leader. And perhaps one way to demonstrate this is if I share another story. Throughout my career, I've had many managers, and all of which I'm very grateful to say have been wonderful and have taught me different things in different ways. There was one manager who was really employee relations focused, very rules driven. I suppose your traditional HR manager that may come to mind. That's important. I learned so much from that perspective. Did I want to follow her to another job? Not really. Then later in my career, I had another manager, and she was so warm. I felt like she cared about me. We got along really well, but she was terribly unorganized, and that made her challenging to work with in some ways. So when asked the same question, would I follow her to another job? Not really. It came to a point where later on in my career, I had a manager and a leader. She combined both. I would follow her to the ends of the earth. And to this day, I think 5 years after we worked together, I still call her up every couple of months, and she's an unofficial mentor to me. And so I believe that you need to be able to inspire a vision and communicate that to bring your people along on the journey. You need to be able to build trusted relationships, because that is how you get results at the end of the day, long-term sustainable results. But you also need to sort of have your fingers in the pie and keep the machine going and be organized and be able to do more of the tactical side of things as well.
Yeah, wow, what a brilliant story. And I love learning through stories. It really paints the picture, because I know, similar scenarios have definitely happened for me. And when I look at it and go, who do I want to be as a human, as a leader, as a boss, as a, inspiration, it's definitely both. So I feel it's, the notion of that there can only be one or the other. It's like, well, I'm in your camp. I believe that, yeah, we need both. We need both of those skill sets. How incredible. So in terms of HR, and I know for me, I grew up in law firms. So you're right. It was the traditional HR. It was naughty corner. It was boring old suits, dry. It was bad. Like, you didn't want to go see HR unless there was a problem. How has that changed now with the way that you run things?
I've noticed a huge focus being placed on the power that people, humans, have on business if you're able to tap into it. The likes of Blackbird Ventures, Canva. I have a very soft spot for Canva. July Luggage. There's so many brands across, especially the Australian landscape, that are doing absolutely incredible things. And you can tell. You can tell by the results that they're achieving in business and what people have to say about their brands. And that is what happens when you place an equal focus on your employee experience, as well as, for example, your customer experience. And the work that I do with clients, like I said earlier, commerciality is a huge focus, and that's understandable. And when you come to sales, you've got sales psychology, and you've got comms plans, and you've got sales plans and marketing plans, and you're doing testing, and you're talking to your customers and all of that stuff. I want to see that being done with your employees.
Yeah, why aren't we doing that with the life force?
Totally. And that's it. That's the life force. If your outside doesn't match your inside, you're gonna have that friction, and that is risky. And that is essentially the same as a human being. We have to marry up what happens in our external environment with our internal. And we know, and I'm sure everyone listening will know, just how powerful your internal environment is. So if we can nail that from a business perspective, just imagine what you can achieve. And in my work, some of the hardest things to do is to prove that leadership and employee experience makes good business.
Yeah.
People want facts, they want data, they want studies, they want science. And so there's just not a lot out there, unfortunately. A lot of it is verbatim. But I have managed to find a couple of studies that I really resonate and that I think show just how powerful leadership capability is when you can do it right. And that is that CEOs or leaders, but the study was focused on CEOs who delegate well, generate 33% higher revenue.
I love that.
A massive jump.
That is incredible.
One study by this firm called Zenger Folkman, who are the legit of the legit in the leadership space, they did this massive study that essentially showed that great leadership, and they defined what that meant, not just good leadership, doubled their profits.
Oof.
And then there was another study, or a report actually released quite recently from Gallup that confirmed that replacing an employee costs between 1/2 and 2 times their annual salary. So if you're replacing a role that pays around $80K, that's going to cost you between $40,000 and $160,000, which is massive. And that's not even including the cost of the actual salary.
Yeah, that's right. And the time the person was there.
So there's a real direct link between leadership and culture and employee experience and the bottom line.
Yeah, there really is. That's so incredible. And this is why I'm really, really pleased to see currently in the world that I'm surrounded by, and all of generally the speaking opportunities I'm being asked to go and speak at are all around leadership. Yes, this is amazing because we are creating leaders for tomorrow, and the world needs more leaders. We really, really do. As you said, leaders can be managers. Not all managers can be leaders. So if we start with creating this beautiful world of heart-led leaders, 33%. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's an amazing statistic. So incredible. But hey, I'm really super excited to get into the nerdy side of things and talk neuroscience. Talk to me all of the deliciousness about how we're tapping into the neuroscience.
So there's a few methodologies that I come back to time and time again. One is through the Neuro Leadership Institute. And this guy called David Rock did this massive study around social drivers. And he came up with this concept called SCARF. And there are 5 common factors that drive our social needs and behavior. So SCARF, S stands for status, C for certainty, A for autonomy, R for relatedness, and F for fairness. And actually, massive tip to everyone listening. I'll send through the link. Kiani, maybe you can pop it in the show notes. They offer a free quiz that you can do to find out what your triggers are.
Oh, yes, please.
So we'll all relate to all of them in different ways, but also more for one or the other at different times of our life. So for example, right now, a lot of people may be triggered by certainty or lack thereof. And so as a leader, understanding our own triggers, but also those of our team, can really help and influence how we communicate news. Company news, how we also interpret what's happening in our industry or in the world around us, or geopolitical happenings, that can really influence the connection that we have with our people, but also how we lead through change, for example, and bring our people along on the journey. So that's one methodology that I fall back on time and time again. My philosophy is that if we know why things happen, or mostly why things happen, then it's easier to understand and it's easier to work through the change or the challenge.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And it's actually very interesting that you mentioned Gallup before, because we implemented the Gallup strengths assessment into our organization.
Yes.
And have a professional who obviously reviews the reports, delivers back feedback, and then does a group report. So me as a leader and the CEO of my company, I have that internal know-how or knowledge to learn to be able to communicate with my team in the best way that suits them. But then also, as the leader, be able to give them direct instructions on how they can get the most out of me. Which I found really incredible, because I went,
hallelujah.
Well, yeah. And then I went, hold on a second. I was very much, when I am in my role, I am of service. How do I help you? And when it's not so much about them helping me or needing to cater for my needs, but it's like when they need something from me, they now have the tools to know how to get the best and the most out of me to suit their needs at that time. I'm like, that is incredible. That is life-changing.
It's bloody good communication.
And the world that we live in is a lot of it is assumptions, expectations. That person behaves like I do, therefore they want what I want when I want it. They know what I need. And it's putting those unrealistic expectations and assumptions on someone else. And then assuming that, that person is in a position of leadership, therefore they must understand me. And then there's the misalignment of values. Then all of a sudden it's all falling apart and someone's quit and someone, thrown the toys out of the cot. It's like, hold on a second, we're just talking. We want the same thing. We're just saying it in different ways.
100%. And that's a common thing that I have experienced throughout my career and now help others to do, is to recognize and then put out those little spot fires before they turn into a massive out of control bushfire and you've already lost. And so asking what other people's communication preferences are and stating your own definitely shouldn't be underestimated. It's one of the first things that I do when I start to work with new people, whether it be clients or I don't have any staff now, but when I had a team, that first meeting is learning more about them, yes, but sharing communication preferences, sharing expectations so that you're on the same page.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing with these resources like SCARF is that it is absolutely okay, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we can offer these opportunities of doing these little tests to staff as they're going through the interview process, so that we can start to identify the team, the dynamic, and especially when you are working with maybe not a huge team, like yes, it would be amazing in a huge team, but even if you've only got 2 staff, you can still do it, because as we know, the staff spend a lot of time together as well. So, they might be incredible for the job, but there might be clashes personally. And
totally, I would dare say it's even more important in a smaller team because there's nowhere to hide and you haven't got other people bolstering the room or bolstering the conversation. So that is a challenge I see for small to medium-sized business owners, is thinking that it's not a priority, but actually, I say it's a higher priority. And so nailing how to do the best interview structure or recruitment process for your business is really important, because like we just talked about the Gallup costs of placing an employee, if you get the decision wrong, it can just set you back so much.
Absolutely. And is that something that you can help companies, organizations,
individuals
with?
One of my favorite things to do is to actually partner with businesses and help them set up their HR or people and culture. I actually hate the word HR, but I have to say it because that's what people know. Yeah. So set up people and culture, for lack of a better word, department, processes, procedures, but cool ones, backed by all the fun stuff that we've talked about at different parts of the employee journey. So obviously you've got that discovery phase that we're in now, where people discover your brand and then they go through that interview process. So that's the first taste of what someone's going to experience of your business, and it's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
So helping people set up what that looks like. What do you need in people? How are you testing those things? Because there are different ways to cut that cookie, and we can make, for example, the recruitment experience whatever you need it to be.
I love that. And I really appreciate the fact that you said partnered, because it's and this is the vibe that I'm getting from the way that you work is beautiful and comforting, because it is a partnership. It's like we do it together. It's not I'm here to tell you what to do. It's here for me to support you.
Human-centered business.
I love it. So good.
No one wants to be told what to do. No one wants to have someone, like me come in and say, oh, you're doing it all wrong. Why haven't you done this? That's so not the most effective way to instigate impactful change. So I definitely believe in the power of partnership and collaboration. I have just as much to learn as well. And everyone needs something different out of their employee experiences. Everyone has a different budget. Everyone has a different amount of time that they can invest. So looking at how you can customize it as much as possible based on all of those factors and industry and business size is really important.
Yeah, incredible. And I'm really happy that you mentioned the word budget, because for a lot of people out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that go, HR department, I'm a 3-man band. I don't need a HR department, or I'm a small business. I don't have that cost available to me. So what would you say to those business owners?
I agree that you don't need an HR department. It would be silly to bring on a full-time person for a really small team that size. But what you do need is some of these processes, and it's a really non-sexy word, I know, but it is what's going to help you get the most out of what you need for that particular experience. So if you haven't thought about how you're going to hire people, what are the questions you're going to ask, what do you even want them to do, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. So one thing that I've learned in my own business journey, I've only been in business for myself for 2 years. So I'm a baby business owner.
Do not say only. That is incredible. A lot of businesses don't make it past 12 months. So
well, there you go.
Congratulations.
Still going.
Yeah.
But one thing that I have learned is you can go at it alone and you can DIY. It just takes so much more time. And ultimately, if you're looking at your hourly rate, say, it's probably going to cost you more in lost time and doing work that you could be otherwise out there generating revenue, for example. So I have now fully switched to the belief that if there's something really important in my business that I need to sort out, get in the pros. Or at least go and do a course or something to learn how to do it properly, because I think in the first year made so many good intentioned mistakes that set me back. And if I had known what I now know, I would do things completely differently. So the same goes for when you're looking at engaging someone in the HR world to do something like creating these experiences, because my philosophy is if you nail it at the beginning and you get it set up right for you, you're going to remove the risk of you needing to problem solve and backtrack and fix and have difficult conversations down the track. So I'm definitely more proactive versus reactive. You hear about all those really crappy conversations that you have to have. You don't actually have to have them if you nail it from the beginning.
Absolutely. And I wish I had have met you like 8 years ago. That would have been really helpful. I was one of those people that learned it the hard way, especially because I had a true belief that in order to grow my business, I needed more people like me. And I realized very quickly that more people like me meant that I had an office full of social butterflies who didn't understand working past lunchtime on a Friday or going to work on a Monday. And I was like, but I don't do that. I'm at the office doing my thing. And a friend said to me, goes, but you own the business.
Yeah. You have a different level of care.
Yeah, you actually care. This is your baby. You've hired people who have, if we look at the DESC assessment, they were all eyes. Because I was like, okay, I need people to be social. I need people to, make people want to feel like they want to be here. And I was like, okay, well, where's the execution?
Yeah. 100%.
I had to have so many hard conversations because it was my limited understanding of, number one, what I needed in an office, and then number two, what the customers needed from the people in my office, and then managing the conversations and managing expectations and setting KPIs and doing all these kinds of things. And I was like, I mean, I'm grateful for the experiences that I've learned, because it gives me the ability now to be able to, you know, share these experiences with the world. But people like you are the gift that for a lot of small business owners, again, it's like, I can't afford it, or I don't have time for it. I don't need it. And I challenge anyone who has that thought process in their mind of going, okay, well, what does it look like in 12 months? And are we running a business for today, or are we running a business for the future? And so if in 12 months there's going to be growth, there's going to be expansion, there may be a staff member, then make it a priority to get these things sorted now so that you have time to be spending in the business. Otherwise, there may not be a business in 12 months if we don't treat it with the respect it needs. It's
such a great point. And I get asked the question a lot, is it worth it? Do you really need it? And there's so many ways to answer that. One of the challenges that I see, and the very real, I suppose, consequence of not placing some sort of focus. It's not like you need to go 0 to 100. It's not like I'm going to do something for a 10-person business that I'm going to do for a 100-person business. There are certain pockets that you can focus on, and you can scale it in a way that works for you. But the people who don't prioritize it at all grow, and then say they get to around 20, 50 people, and now it's just a dumpster fire and everything is so difficult. And then, you know, the likes of me or any other companies walk in, and really you're focusing on damage control and trying to fix things and do heart surgery. Whereas if you're able to, like I say, proactively nail down at least some of these experiences from the beginning, you're setting up your culture in a way that really aligns with what you want and need out of your business, so that you're getting people who are diverse and have different approaches to things and different personalities, but who hold the same values.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I used to say all the time, I'm like, I can teach you how to do the job. I can teach you the step-by-step jobs. I can't teach you how to be a good human.
No.
So I would rather spend twice as long with someone to teach them the skills, knowing that values were aligned and that we are like-minded individuals.
100%. And then developing your leadership capability, the next level above that is, how can I bring out those values in my people and those behaviors that I want to see?
Yeah, absolutely. Lead by example. Oh, I love it. So what would you say is a great place to start?
Looking at your business now and asking yourself, I suppose, some really difficult questions. What is working? Because we do want to know what that is. And what perhaps isn't working, or isn't working as well as you would like it to be. And then it comes back to, well, what is the source of that? And that is something that I can help you with as well. And from there, depending on what that is, then if you were to partner with me, say, you create a phased plan on how you can tackle those things. It's not going to be all at once. I definitely don't believe in the full tidal wave of information.
I feel like that's a relief for a lot of people listening.
Yes. No, it's just not going to work. It doesn't work for me. And I know it doesn't work for many other people as well. So you've got to work at a pace that works for you. If you're the type of person who likes to just bang it all out in a week, can do that. But if you're the type of person who needs 6 months, can do that too.
And look, I mean, we're all time poor. So
totally.
Yeah, I love 100%. That. That's brilliant. No, that's incredible. And so and I mean, I am posing this more towards small to medium businesses, because I really do feel as though that gap that we were talking about in terms of skills and mindfulness and the support in the back end, we all have this belief. I know I was like this with financial planners. I was like, oh, until I'm a millionaire, I don't need a financial planner. I was wrong. I need a financial planner. I have a financial planner. Yay, go me. But again, with that HR perspective, it's like, it doesn't have to be massive. And as you've said, it's a stage plan to move in. So what do you feel would be a moment in time that someone could experience, or have that moment where they're like, oh shit, I need HR? Is there something that you see most business owners or most businesses kind of hit that similar road bump or that similar state or phase or whatever it might be that makes them go, there you go. That's the part of that podcast that I need to listen to, and that's the woman I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you're sitting in your bed late at night and you're like, oh my God. And your heart is racing and you might have a tight chest and you're thinking about either the conversation you have to do tomorrow, or you're really upset at this person. You don't understand why the heck they're doing what they're doing. And you're like, God damn, I wish I just never managed people. That is one of those moments that is a sign that perhaps we need a conversation.
That's so good, because we all know that the minute we go to bed, we don't go to bed to sleep first. We go to bed to freak out or write a to-do list or, fear a conversation we have to have the next day. Or as business owners, I know for me, my practice before bed is to get all of those things out of my mind so that I can sleep. Yeah, so that I can sleep. Lucky for me, I end up dreaming it into, I have conversations in my dreams. So it helps me kind of like, anyway, I'm a very odd kettle of fish.
No, not at all.
For a lot of us business owners, that is the perfect moment. That is such an ingrained moment in time. The minute before we go to bed, or when we're sitting in bed or sitting at the dinner table, that minute we've got a bit of silence. If those fears pop up of having a hard conversation, why the hell am I managing people? How am I going to get through this? That's the moment in time you need some support.
Absolutely.
Oof.
And may I add a second one?
Yes, God. The more the better.
It's if you've reached that point of business where you're kind of plateauing and you're kind of stalling and you're like, I really feel like I can do more and achieve more and create more impact, but I just don't know how. And that is another moment that I see in the clients that I work with come up for them.
Yeah, cool. So it's kind of like that we're ready for a growth phase.
Yeah.
But we just don't really know where to go, where to start, where to look. Cool. Yeah, so absolutely. In that instance, with that client, how would your support help them?
So I think I bring a certain element of, well, yes, commerciality. I know I've used that word a lot, but I own my own business. I sort of know how that cookie crumbles. I definitely have much more to learn, but in helping my clients, I can bring that experience to the table. I can bring my experience as an HR leader, as well as my experience as a manager of people together in this little trifecta perspective to help them move through blockers. So if they're not seeing results in their sales conversion, for example, I'm not a sales specialist, so I'm definitely not going to delve into that area of work, but I can provide some prompt areas to look into, especially from the people side. Yeah. So what is the culture of that team or your whole team like? What is there anything going on with that person in their personal life that may be impacting their quality of output? What are your processes and systems like? And really bring it back to your people and your culture, because that ultimately is where it starts.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like for me, having been in that position many, many times, the more pertinent part on the other side, which a lot of people don't think about until they're there, is going, we are ready to get bigger or evolve or grow or, contribute more or whatever it might be. It's then making sure that back end support, our staff, our office, our processes, our procedures are ready to cop the full brunt of that dam when we break the dam wall. Because ultimately, when we go to that next stage of business, we are attempting to open the floodgates. So having that support inside, I know for me, that was absolutely critical to make sure and go, hey, I can do this because I know the back end sorted. because I know the
Totally.
staff are happy, because I know they've got this, I trust them, you've
Oh,
got it.
that's it. You hit the nail on the head. It's, yes, all of those processes and procedures, sort of the boring stuff is important, but you've equipped your people with the information and the knowledge and the trust and the empowerment and the autonomy to do what they do well.
Yeah.
So that they can manage those things for you, so that they can continually improve them for you, and you're taking that load off your shoulders.
Absolutely. I know for me, I watched the greatest growth in my team when I stopped trying to do their job for them. And I let them take responsibility for their roles, and they exceeded all of my expectations. It was like I was somehow metaphorically keeping the training wheels on, because I was trying to control the outcome. But then the minute that the training wheels came off and they were left to fly, my God, did they fly? And I sat back and I was like, how did I do what? I wasted so much time.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And
That's
what
so
an
grateful
incredible
for that.
thing to have achieved, because that is a challenge I see so many small business owners face, is that for a long time it's you, yourself, and I, me, myself, and I. And so there is that transition where you hire your first, your second, your third, where you're letting go. And like you said earlier, your business is your baby, and it can feel really hard to let go, but that's the only way you're going to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the part of it which was really, really scary. Do not get me wrong. I am a control freak. I'm a recovering control freak. I'm a recovering perfectionist. It was hard, and it took a couple of goes at it. But again, I communicated that with the team, and sometimes things happen, accidents happen. You have to be offline. I travel a lot, so there's a lot of downtime. So sometimes it is thrust upon you and you kind of go, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but oh, wow, we're swimming, we're flying. Oh my gosh, okay, we didn't drown. This is amazing. And then there's other times where it's absolutely intentional. And regardless of which one it is, for me, it was a state of, oh, wow, you are surrounded by such incredible people. Number one, don't forget to tell them that. But number two, remember that your job is to guide, their job is to do.
Oh, I love that so much. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I work through my clients with, is moving from that founder mindset to a leader mindset. Because when you start managing people, you do less of the doing, and your role becomes more around leading those people. It's not continuing to doing the doing and then adding leadership on top of it.
And look, I mean, sometimes we're dragged back in, and that's okay. That's business owner's life. But no, you're right. And that was a massive shift for me mentally. That was a me thing. It's like learning your business so intricately that no one's going to know it like you do. That is our job. That is absolutely fundamentally what it is. But then there has to come a point in time where we decide that it's not just us, and there is a team supporting and guiding the clients, and finding that internal trust in yourself to be able to say, you know what, I trust that you've done the best you can for them, for the people, for the staff, for the the people that you are training to take over those roles, and then let it fly.
Totally. And then if you can back that by the skills to communicate your vision and your mission and why you're here, and connect what they do to the overall business outcome and goals, then you're going to develop that sense of ownership, and you're going to cultivate a high level of care in your people, so that you create a culture where everyone, for the most part, does the right thing, even when you're not looking.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. If only all businesses could run like that.
So many do. I see them.
Yeah, that must be a really beautiful part of the job.
It is pretty phenomenal. Part of my mission is to create more workplaces where people arrive happier but leave happier for it. Work is not a place just to earn the dollars that'll pay the bills. It can actually provide a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And what a wonderful thing to do, because we spend so much of our life at work.
We do, we really do. Oh, I love that. What an incredible human you are, and what a gift you are sharing with the world. I love it so much. I'm so grateful to have met you.
Thank you, and vice versa.
Oh, amazing. So please tell our listeners now, share with our listeners, I'm being very mindful of my language at the moment. How can they get in contact with you, and where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I'm on Instagram at third_space. I am also on LinkedIn at Hareta-McMullin, and my website is thirdspacepeople.com.
Oh, amazing. Now, you say your name a hell of a lot more elegantly than I do. My Australian accent says it very Bogan-like. So thank you for sharing that. No,
you're so welcome. My name is a tricky one, and I have had all the versions under the sun, and I genuinely don't mind. Most people call me H.
Isn't it funny? I'm exactly the same. People go, because I'm so sorry. I get Kiani like an A on the end instead of an I a lot. And then I'm so sorry. I was like, I will answer to anything. It is fine. It is absolutely fine. I remember, I'll never forget the phone conversation I had. There was like, I'd never had it before. And then 1 week, 3 phone calls in almost back to back over 3 or 4 days. Karen. I was like,
gosh.
Okay.
I mean, I get mispronunciation, but that's a whole nother name.
There's a whole nother name. Yeah. I'm like, we don't even have the same syllables in there.
No.
Oh dear. But hey, aren't we blessed to have unique names?
100%. It's a conversation starter. I used to curse my parents, but now I'm like, okay, you did well.
I was exactly the same as a child. I was like, damn you, lady. Yeah. And now it's a conversation starter. So beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope to have you back again. There is so much knowledge in your beautiful brain and in your experience as well that I truly feel if businesses can become more aligned from the outset internally in our leaders and then cultivate that workplace wellness around leadership style, management style, staff needs, outcome, goals, direction, values, gosh, this incredible world of business would just explode.
It truly would. And I would be honored to come back and hold the new generation of HR flag.
Yes, I love that. I love that too, because I have a very similar outset when I started my business, because having been brought up in a law firm, I learned what I learned. I had no idea of anything else, but I realized when I left, holy crap, I'm never running a business like that ever again.
Yeah, that's one positive, I think, from those experiences is that you know what you don't want.
Yes, absolutely. And that was my mission, because conveyancers had this very interesting persona about them that I do not represent. And so therefore I said, well, you know what, I'm going to change the stigma. I'm going to change the way that people view conveyancing. It doesn't have to be stiff and grumpy and cranky and hard to communicate with and all these other things, that labels that got given. So I feel like we're on a very similar mission with really, really similar values. So hopefully the listeners have gotten as much out of this as I have. And thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. And thank you to all of the beautiful listeners who have tuned in once again. If you are new to this podcast, welcome to the family. It is great to have you here. We have some more incredible guests coming up, as we have. If you have not listened to previous episodes, please jump on and have a look on Spotify and on Apple and all the other fantastic platforms, as well as following me at She Can Humanize Business on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Have an incredible week, gang. I look forward to hearing from you again next week, and stay tuned for who our guest is going to be. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to hear your feedback around what resonated and what key lessons and learnings that you took out of today's episode. You can find me on Instagram and on LinkedIn under the She Can Humanize Business podcast, or Kiani Mills. I really hope that you were able to see, feel, and experience a new way of humanizing business.